All right, this is a different sci-fi express lane. Just want to kind of hit you where my thoughts hit me, trying to be organic. I am now working on comic books full time. I've been surplus as a teacher, and just the world and everything is different. There's the wife photobombing, so now I'm exercising in the morning instead of driving to work. So I had a conversation with, I can't remember, somebody at the Comic Con. I was at PalmCon last week, in Delray, Florida, and we were talking about comic books and do people read, black comic books, or do people read all of the comic books that they buy? And with this comic book discussion with all of these podcasters and everybody like that, and just talking about the politics of behind black creators, and are they even writing pro-black stories? Should they? Is that a thing? Is that important? And I was just like, I don't think a lot of people read the stories. I've read some black comics that don't make sense. Now, that's not exclusive to black comic book writers, because a lot of independent, let's say a lot of independent, but more so than often, there are independent comics that take a different writing style, and they don't always have editors, and they don't always make sense, and I am a writer first. I started off as a writer of a film, and then I got into writing novels, and then I started writing my comic books. So for me, I'm a big story person. If the story doesn't make sense, then I'm not really in it. I mean, I read comic books growing up as a kid, but I probably was more into the aesthetics. I was into the art and the illustration. I liked the way the Hulk looked. I liked the way Daredevil looked. But now as a 30-plus-year-old person, I'm in my 50s now. But when I got back into comic books, I was in my 30s. I was into the stories. I still have yet to follow some of these superhero comic books. The one I did read was Miles Morales, and I read Cyborg. I read John Jennings' not Blue Lightning. I forgot the light. The Green Lantern story that he had, and I read some of those, switches, and then, I just read the Dakota incident. I read some Black Panther, but for the most part, I'm not a superhero reader. My best book of the last year was Roots of Madness, and I love that. I want more books like that. I like Rodney Barnes, his 30 Days a Night tie-in story that's what I'm into. But I just don't think a lot of people read these black comic books. I think they buy them because they're black. Now, I will take a sale because I'm black. I like it. Yes, thank you for the support, helping a black man out. But I don't know. I'd rather, you read it, because like my last one, Humor Streets, I want you to read the jokes, Cyberpunk Streets. I want you to respond to that, and the last one I did, Hellmonic Streets, the black nun is saying some wild sideways stuff to Crumpus, and those are part of the story, when I write Fingernails, I give my cat some personality. It goes back and forth with the ghost, and I want, people to check that out. I don't want you to just buy it because it's black, but there are people that do that. Shoot, I am guilty of supporting Kickstarters that by the time the reward comes, I done forgot I supported the Kickstarter, and they have to send me a reminder to get my reward. But that's something different. At the same time, when I get the comic book, I'm reading it. The only comic books that I might sit and not read are comic books that people give me, mostly because I wasn't interested in the first place. But if you gave it to me, I'm gonna do the diligence and respect you and read it. But I might not read it right away, So that's one thing, and so that's the biggest thing, And I think, my other comparison to comic books and people reading, particularly black comic books, is like Pokemon cards or trading cards, where people are just buying them to have them. I've had people buy 2 copies of some of my books. Like Fingernails was good for that. People, because it was nominated for some awards. It's going to a graphic novel. I got the Kickstarter starting up this week. So people are interested in collecting, and I get that, but they are clear. I'm by one to read, and I'm by one to put the thing in there, to collect. And then some people say, have you gotten it CGI rated, CGC rated? And I haven't paid for that yet because I know my comic books are going to be valuable because they're the first ones, and I'm going to keep writing the stories for a while, and eventually something will break off, like The Last Harlemite, it'll get picked up. But I don't know, it's $30 to get it, and then I got to sell it for like $75 or something like that, man. I'm like, I'm not a collector like that, so I don't get into it, but there are people that collect comics, and maybe those are the black people that buy black comics, like my man Marcus Roberts. He buys everything black, if he can get it, he can get it, and he's a collector of black comics like that, and eventually he'll have a Marcus Roberts museum, I think that's cool, but he reads his, He'll give me stories. He's a writer as well, Second Sight Publishing, shout out. And he reads it, but I'm pretty sure there's people that buy these books that don't read them, because when I look on social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, everybody's like, oh my God, it's such a good book. And I'm like, did y'all read it? And now they finding out the politics of these people. It reminds me of like Funko Pops. If you know anything about Funko Pops are these little figures that people buy and they don't ever open the box. It's like cryptocurrency, and it's like I don't know how to gauge it, because it bugs me out every time. And them Funko Pop vendors make a lot of money. Them Funko Pops are not $5. They probably really are $5, but depending on the Funko Pop, they charge up to $30, $40, maybe $50. And I've seen some as, they only make one. So after, they print all of those up, it becomes valuable. But it feels like cryptocurrency. I've been in the comic book store where people have tried to, get rid of their Funko Pop collection, and they can't sell them. The comic book store is like, yo, sell them online. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not buying them for what they value online. I'm buying them for what I think the value is, and that's crazy. And people collect a lot of different things, and America is a gluttonous culture where our needs are irrelevant to our wants. So if it's something that we just want, we feel, hey, I worked hard to get these things. People don't know how to budget, so there's a whole lot of explanations for it. But yeah, I think with the Funko Pop thing, it reminds me of Stanley Cups. You know that Stanley Cup, the water bottle. I know people that have. This lady told me she has a cabinet full of Stanley Cups, and mind you, she's my financial planner. Now, I get it, they got a lot of money and she deals in money, but to me, how much money do you have to before needs and wants get out of balance. I grew up around a lot of rich people, and they had a lot of imbalances with needs and wants, but it wasn't a big deal because they had a lot of money. And so that's fine, but it's still, she had a cabinet full of Stanley Cups. And I mean, all right, I get it. You may have 3, 4, okay, I even give you 5, right? 20, 30, that's a different cup every day of the week. I mean, every day of the month. Come on. I mean, if it breaks or something, but people are getting Stanley Cups to match their outfits. They're getting Stanley Cups for the different seasons. It's crazy, and that's marketing. So, comic books, we're all the same people, so maybe that's the situation. But I just really want to drop a little something. I think I'm at 10 minutes. Don't want to go on too long, but yeah, I think, we're in a gluttonous culture, and people do buy comic books and don't read them. And I mean, it's good economically for us as creators, but I don't think it's good as for a culture of comic book creators, because we never grow. You know, we make a hot cover, and sure, the illustrator is the bomb. And the illustrator is selling the book with the cover, but we think it's us and our writing. And nobody's, you got to be real bad for somebody to trash you online. Most of the time when our books aren't good, nobody says anything about the book not being good. Because I know good and well there's a book that came out last year. I couldn't understand it. I met the writer and he tried to explain it to me, but I just don't think what he explained translated to what was illustrated on the page. So I asked people privately, and nobody really understood the story that what do you call it? I was asking about. And if you want to know, you have to DM me. I may, put it in the DMs, but I'm not gonna put it online like that because it's just me. But yeah, so I know that I'm one of those people that believe that black comic book readers and independent comic book readers and people that just buy comics don't always read the comic books. And I think that doesn't help us grow and get better as writers. Of course, we have the Glyph Awards. We have the Ringo Awards out of Baltimore. But Ringo's for everybody, but Glyph is for black comics. And they do story award and writer and best character and all that. And that's good, so we know who the top is. But there's a lot more writers out here than, the winners of those categories or the runners up or whatever place they give. Those, maybe the top 3. But for everybody else, we need to get critiqued. So anyway, thank you for listening to me. If I'm wrong, let me know. Check me out. How you do it? Like, subscribe, share, and of course comment. Good morning. Yeah, I'm out, y'all. All right, that's 13 minutes. Peace.